And just an answer to your comment about U-turn, actually, the name of this project shows the continuity of the work that we've done in our team. U-turn came as an outcome of a previous project where we investigated the backhauling. For those that backhauling is actually an example of vertical collaboration in the logistics. So 6-7 years before, we have started to investigate this practice in order to increase the efficiency and reduce the carbon emissions during the distribution and the transportation. So this is the reason why we have this name. So we will conclude this session by presenting the U-turn. The U-turn project actually focuses on food logistics. What we have witnessed the last decades is the urbanization of the population. Currently, almost 70% of the population lives in urban center, which has, as a result, the increased number of kilometers that are traveled, a lot of CO2 emissions, and a lot of traffic. The previous project have mentioned all these challenges that we need to confront and address in the context of logistics. Above on that, in this context, we have also to tackle and take into account the new trends and the new consumer habits. And more precisely, we have three major consumer trends. The first of them focus and is related with the new habits of a consumer that wants and prefer to buy products from smaller convenient stores, and also they prefer to make more frequent purchases than going on per month to a huge supermarket. The second trend is related with the willingness that express consumer nowadays to adopt a more healthy lifestyle. This is translated in their intention to buy fresh food, and fresh food that is distributed from local producers or it is available in urban markets. And the third major trend that is really growing fast nowadays in the online shopping and the online grocery. So in this context, the shared logistics seems to have raised a lot of attention, and except what I mean by shared logistics, I mean sharing common vehicles and also sharing the common warehouses and infrastructures. But in this context, we will give more emphasis on horizontal collaboration. And by horizontal collaboration, we mean collaborative schemes that involve partners that they have the same position in the supply chain, and sometimes they are even competitors. So collaborative schemes that focus on distribution across supply chain, not among supply chains and not across supply chain. So in a nutshell, the U-turn project focuses on urban distribution, on food logistics, and will suggest collaborative schemes and tools that will enable us to achieve more efficient distribution in the last mile logistics. Our focus is on last mile logistics. So we have three pillars: horizontal collaboration, food logistics, and last mile logistics. And in order to make it more precise, in the context of our project, we have three different pilots. Each one of them address one of the three consumer trends that I mentioned previously. So the first pilot that was running actually in Athens focused on this part of the distribution process from the manufacturer warehouse to the retailer outlets. The second pilot that has taken place in the area of Milan focus on the fresh food and involves local producers and farmers, and give emphasis on how we could enhance the distribution in this specific market. And the last one is run actually in London. I think that London would be the best option for investigating the phenomenon of online grocery, actually, since the online grocery is really mature in this market. At each one of them, you can see all the partners that were involved. I would like at this point also to thank all colleagues and partners that we have worked together closely 3 years. And none of the results that I'm going to present you briefly in the next slides will not be there. So In the next slides, I will give you in a glimpse what we have run as pilots and some hints of the results that you could expect in the next sessions tomorrow. So starting from pilot 1, our emphasis in this pilot and also in the whole project is to engage and understand better the industry needs. So since the early beginning of the project and even earlier than the official start of the project, we have organized 2 working groups. The one that was with the support of ECR. ECR is actually the organization that brings together retailers and suppliers in the FMCG in order to collaboratively solve and provide solutions both in their distribution and also in other aspects of their business. And the Greek Hellenic company, which is actually the organization that brings together 3PL's company in 3PL's company. So after 3 years of closely interaction with all these companies, we have run a lot of working groups, in-depth interviews, meetings, individual meetings, meetings with smaller groups, and of course, we have taken data from the distribution processes in order to quantify the potential of the opportunities that have been initially suggested and investigated. After all this effort, we have concluded in 3 different pillars and of opportunities. Each one of them involves specific type of stakeholders. So we have opportunities for collaboration among suppliers, among retailers, and among 3PL companies. The 2 concepts that were investigated is the UCC concept and the vehicle sharing. So we have UCC concept for the case of retailers and the case of 3PL companies, and we also investigated the vehicle sharing in different scopes of the logistics processes. So we have opportunities for collaboration in the returns part, we have opportunities for collaboration in specific areas of distribution. All these opportunities have been materialized and have been tested in 4 different pilots that involve different type of stakeholders. As you can see here, we have matrix. This matrix has on the one axis the 2 concepts. So we have UCC concept and vehicle sharing concept, and on the other axis has the type of stakeholders. So we have 3PLs and retailers or suppliers. The first of the pilots that we have examined and the model that we have tested, it was horizontal collaboration by using shared vehicles in the case of 2 major suppliers. As you can see here, we have the warehouse of the 2 suppliers were located near to each other. So what we decided to test is the case that Barilla sent their products every morning to the warehouse of Nestlé, and then they jointly distributed the products in the city center. This pilot was run for 2 weeks and had some really interesting results that will be shared tomorrow with you in the session of stakeholder collaboration. The second pilot was pretty much in the same logic. We have also vehicle sharing, but in this case, the involved stakeholders are 3PL companies. What is the difference in this case is that we tried to match the spare capacity that some of the 3PL companies have with the loads that could not be served with a minimum cost or with a viable efficiency by the 3PL company. In order to match these 2 requirements, demand, spare capacity and demand, we used also the U-turn platform, as you can probably see there. This is a screenshot of the platform that has been developed in the context of U-turn. This is a platform that employs actually a stable matching approach, which was a really innovative concept for the case of smart collaborative logistics, and I will give you a bit more details later on. All these pilots have given us some nice results and promising outcomes about the benefits, but they also revealed the challenges and the things that we need to take into account in order to ensure the scalability of these solutions and make them to work on an operational level and on a day-to-day process. The third and the fourth pilot actually investigate the UCC concept. Here you can see in the Greek reality, there are both retailers and also the 3PLs company have warehouses that are located in the same areas. So they would like to see if they are going to use UCCs in specific areas near to the city center, if they could have some benefits and increase the vehicle fill rate, because in the city center it is not allowed to distribute by using big trucks. So they would like actually to see which would be the benefit of consolidate their distribution up to a specific UCC. Some benefits came up by using the UCC, but also there are some extra handling costs that make the viability of the UCCs under questionable, and the UCC could work under specific conditions that could be further elaborated in a presentation tomorrow. And moving to the second pylon, to the farmers, and to the fresh food case. What is also the case in the Milan, what we have seen is that we have fresh food retailers and also fresh food markets located in the city center. And what the farmers confront is the traffic restriction, the congestion, and the time windows in order to deliver the foods. Another parameter that is interesting and differentiate this pilot from the other pilots is that farmers, most of the times, serve their deliveries by themselves. So for them, an important KPI is the time. So they don't have time to dedicate to distribute their products. By merging their distribution flows and coordinate better themselves, they could also serve in a more time efficient way their deliveries, and they also could serve a broader scope of the Milan area. What were the challenges in this pilot? We have get in contact with a lot of farmers. My colleagues from TRT have visited them. We have a lot of photos where they try to reach the farmers' houses, and they have a lot of issues in order to reach them. The challenge in this case was that the farmers were not really familiar with this type of research. They are not very open on investigate this type of solutions, and of course they don't have the automation that is required. As you can see here, this is a manuscript of the way that we ask them to record their daily deliveries. They couldn't record it even in an Excel, so we asked them to record it on a paper. So that was the second pilot. More results will, as I mentioned before, will be also presented in tomorrow's session and also in the poster afterwards. And let's change the focus on pilot 3, online grocery, that seems that will also change the logistics landscape. In this pilot, we have the UK market is really challenged by the cost burden of the last mile logistics. This on top of that, we have a huge growth on online grocery demand. So we have this landscape has created an increased cost and a lot of challenges of how we could address them. Collaboration seemed to be an option, and micro hubs as an alternative way of serving the last mile logistics seemed to be a prominent one. That's why we have tested 3 different scenarios where shared micro hubs were employed, and we have delivered a different type of results. It seems that shared micro hubs could deliver some benefits, but what was the challenge in the context of UK was that the market is really competitive. The stakeholders are not really willing to collaborate with each other, even if the benefits are high. We have also to confront, and we also, as a community, have to confront with the branded way of delivering things. So if they want to have a branded vehicle to serve the end consumer, they cannot really, they're not very they are reluctant to collaborate with other big retailers. However, oops, okay, two more. Um, However, we have understood this restriction of competitiveness and in the beginning of the project. So we worked on another concept, the e-cargo bikes concept. So this last couple of days, we have initiated our last pilot that tests how e-cargo bikes can be used in order to facilitate and bring benefits in the final mile distribution. And e-cargo bikes and Sainsbury's is involved in this pilot. And the last result and outcome of this project is the U-turn platform. As I mentioned before, a lot of our pilots were run with its support. What is the innovative with this platform is that it actually incorporates the stable matching logic. It's an approach that is Nobel awarded and has been used for in different real case scenarios. And another interesting outcome for the platform is that our 3PL company want to use them in a day-to-day process, and we have already initiated the discussion with them for further exploitation. And the last slide, which are the main achievements of this project and of all these 3 years of hard work. The first one is that we managed to involve and engage in this process various stakeholders. It is not worthy to mention at this point that all the companies that you have seen before, except from Barilla, are not partners in the project. They participate in all these activities because they wanted to see which are the potential of distribution logistics of this collaboration in the logistics and how they could potentially disrupt their distribution processes. During all this process, we have better understand the needs, the opportunities, and the problems that affects the implementation of horizontal collaboration. Because we have seen a report that describes the future of supply chain in nowadays, we have seen that shared logistics should be a common practice. But no, it's not. So we should see why it's not and what we could do in order to enhance these practices. We have also empirical evidence about the value of the models that we have seen. As I mentioned before, it's interesting that there is partners that are asking and want the further exploitation of the U-turn platform. And of course, we have also policy contribution. One of our colleagues was participating in the formulation of the presidential degree in urban freight distribution. And yeah.